This is episode 147 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Devana Came. Devana is a real estate investor and sober living home expert. We're going to talk all about it. Devana, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this is our first sober living show, so I'm really excited to get into it with you. But one thing I want to start with before we get into how you got into real estate and all that is sober living has become something of a buzzword. We were talking a little bit on the pre-call. Tell us a little bit how you are doing sober living is different than what people might be buzzing about.
Yeah, so there's two basically different ways. You can be an owner operator, or you can arbitrage your house out to an organization that then creates a sober living.
I mean, that doesn't even sound like really sober living. That just sounds like arbitrage.
Yes. I think that there is positives to it. A few positives, but some also pros and cons, I guess you can say. The pro is that you're still providing a house for people who need it.
Yeah, of course.
You're very separated from the sober living. It's really no different than arbitraging your house to anybody who's going to go do something with your house, whatever that may be, sober living or other things. So yeah, it's very different than owning and operating.
We're in this kind of hybrid where we've beaten recovery part, we've out of recovery, and now we have to get back to being on our own. But this is a big step in the middle where it goes wrong for a fair percentage of people. The way that you're furnishing them and making them more homey seems like it could play a big role in helping someone kind of stay on the path, barring other things that could come up.
I think it's just uplifting when you walk into the house instead of, and I'm saying neutral colors aren't great. My new house is a little more neutrally than my others just because of the color scheme I had to go with cabinets and stuff, but still going to be very uplifting and light and airy. I think you're coming out of detox or rehab. You're already I don't want to say everybody comes out depressed because that's not the case, but they're coming out trying to reconstruct a life that they pretty much thrashed for lack of a better word. And coming into a place that is uplifting, bright, cheerful is going to help their just the morale of the house over just a bunch of thrift store furniture. And again, I love thrift stores, but like if you're going to go buy a thrift store cabinet, I don't paint it. Do something fun with it. Don't just stick a bunch of stuff that doesn't match in a house and call it good. Put your heart into it, and they'll feel that. And it's going to result in longer stay, people wanting to be there when they see that your heart into it, not just for the money.
Yeah. And I'd go back to something that I've always said about landlords, like slumlords always think the tenant's the problem, but the slumlord's the problem. When you rent somebody a home, any kind of home, and it looks terrible, they're not going to take care of it because it looks terrible. So from your point of view, when you make it feel more like home and it's nicer, they're more apt to take care of it. The opposite of the advice that you got, actually, that's what makes sense to me. If it's nice, no one's going to do anything. They don't want to mess it up. And they know they're kind of in this hybrid area where they're not ready to live on their own, or they can't, court ordered, however it works. And it's important that they do well in this stage for themselves and for all the relationships that they usually are still mending. And it's a nice, safe space. And I think I've watched, on your Instagram, and I can see that it doesn't look like what I would have thought of as sober living, which are kind of, boring old. Still have the ones that I've seen and just kind of very drab, not really like, hospital-y, but just very nothing. So for multifamily investors, I always say that one of the biggest challenges you have is to make sure that the tenants are happy and not arguing with each other, but they live in separate units. So tell us how important it is for you as somebody who's running a sober living home with, say, at least 10 people inside who generally don't know each other before they get there, some sleeping in the same room. How are you creating a flow of the house or anything in there that can help kind of minimize potential issues other than what we just talked about?
It's the $1 million question I get. Like, how do you do this? Because one of my biggest house right now is 20 people.
Wow.
My female might be 17 people. The new house I'm building right now will have 24. So, yeah, surprisingly, I don't have issues with getting along. But I would say the biggest part is the dynamic you bring as an owner with your management.
Yeah.
So, just like anything, right? Management has got to be the biggest key part of running a house that size. So when you set up your dynamic with your managers, that's going to set the whole mood for the whole entire house. Also, nipping things in the bud really
Yeah.
quick when things happen. Don't let things escalate. We are really good about mediating things. If somebody has a little issue with somebody, we come at it with like a holistic approach, not just like getting somebody in trouble for nothing. I want to hear everybody's side of the story. I don't really have to deal with that stuff. My managers do, but
Yeah.
if it's past something that they can deal with, I would step in. But they're really good about sitting down, listening to everybody, and having them hear each other. Because most of the time, it's people are mirrors for each other. They're not really mad at another person because the other person's a bad person. They triggered them on some level,
Yeah.
or um, you know, different things like that. So we try to move in it from a holistic standpoint on how can we hear you guys? How can you guys hear each other? What needs to be worked out? And it pretty much gets worked out pretty quickly.
Yeah. But
And we oh,
go ahead.
sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
We also I don't like drama, and I don't want to have drama in the houses as much as possible. So when I was building my houses, I went into every detail possible to mitigate those dramas. So we do have cameras in all of our common spaces on refrigerators, so we don't have theft with people stealing food and all the
Yeah.
little things
Yeah.
that have. Um, and then also we provide safes for each person. We do have, a key so we can like
It's
check safe if we need to.
safety. Yes.
Yeah, we don't have theft in the house. We don't have a lot of the dramas that a lot of these other houses might.
I think it's different when you put up cameras for everybody's safety or if you put up cameras to be on surveillance, and I think the way that, like you said, the way that you set up the kind of holistic approach and how your staff deals with it is a big part of it.
There are a lot of bad sober living homes that give us all a bad name.
Yeah, of course. Of
So
course.
my mission is to help people create quality sober living homes and change the narrative of bad sober living homes. So I sit on the board of the Sober Living Network and of the Sober Living Coalition in our area. It's just a big, huge mission of mine to help people create good quality homes.
Yeah. I mean, another reason why it's so important for you to now be open about it on Instagram and show people, because then you also have verified other sober living homes that you can show new neighbors and say, here, just look at the website. Like, this isn't what you think. And now they can really see, your passion. I think that probably helps a lot. And you're right. Like in a lot of industries, there are people setting the pace that makes it harder for you to be good at. But you can only do that one by one and show people. I would think across the board, hopefully it helps things get better, but there's always going to be that subset who, are just looking at it as a turning beds type of thing. And, I don't think that's the best help for the people there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely been a journey. I've learned a lot of things in the last 10 years.
Yeah.